Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. I always thought the intro should be a bit longer. As soon as we start blinking, next thing you know, we're live. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm irritable. I'm tired of not going to work. That'll end in 2 weeks. Then I'll be tired of going to work. But yeah, I'm just. I'm fair warning. I am irritable. Let's do this.
I appreciate the warning, but I can handle it. I got some mail this week. I don't know if you got the same one I did, but let's open up.
I got the same package. I did not take advantage and make it a photo opportunity. But I opened mine. I'm not going to tell you what's in it because I don't want to ruin surprises.
It was from Western Survivor. No, Adam Vandal and his crew over there. Oh my goodness! So first off, we got beef jerky sticker, and this is their website. So this is a Western Survivor beef jerky. WesternSurvivor.ca. Check them out. Check out this food, Adam. Oh my goodness. So this is beef jerky we sell at Ohsweken Speedway, and Adam watches the show, and he said, hey, is it all right if I send you guys some care packages? And let's check out some of the flavors we got while we let everybody log on. We got some Chipotle. We got some original beef jerky. Some Zimbabwe biltong. Cool.
Yeah, that's something I was told we have to try.
Yeah, so what better product, for hanging out the dirt races, though? Like a great snack, healthy, good deal. Thanks, Adam. We appreciate that. Everybody check them out. WesternSurvivor.ca. Now, what Adam Vandal asked Adam is at the end of our last weekend season, he said, hey, I want to sponsor a part of the track. So with our Dusty DeBoer stats, we found out that turn 2 has almost twice as many wrecks as every other turn. So I think that perch in turn 2 where Greg Boydell stands is going to be the Western Survivor perch, because you got to survive if you're standing up there for 1 and 2. If you can make it through the turn with the most wrecks, you might be the Western Survivor. And it's also the western corner of the speedway. So lots of tie-ins there. Anyways, we have an action-packed show, Adam.
In fact, yeah, I was just messaging our first guest. I think we should get him on as soon as possible. He says that we're a little bit intermittent, so if we have connection problems, we'll have to say goodbye fairly quickly. But if you're ready, Clinton, if we can go ahead and do it, let's bring him on. Jason White at Speed Weeks, and boy, is he busy. Truck racing, ARCA racing, and now road racing in a truck.
Yeah. Bring him on, Spencer, if you got him there.
I'm glad Spencer just sent us a Facebook. He just dropped. So Jason White is in Daytona. He's sticking around to run the road race in the trucks. The nice thing, Clinton, about being a Canadian stock car racer, if you run the NASCAR Pinty Series, you run a lot of truck races. You run a lot of road races. Jason White has a lot of experience on road courses, so I'm kind of glad he's sticking around down there to tackle the road course.
Yeah, I for one was a fan of the Busch Clash being moved to the road course, switching things up a bit. I'm excited. I've always been a big fan of the Daytona 24 with the Rolex race there, so I'm excited. I mean, that was one thing Christine will tell you last year when we were walking through the infield. I'm like, they were racing here for 24 hours last week. I was all pumped about it. And I'm like, this is like the infield. And so it was cool. I'm super pumped to watch our Canadian friends and the rest of our truck racers get it on this Friday down at the road course. So if you got them, Spencer, throw them back up as soon as we get Jason back online. Jason,
hello.
Welcome to the program.
Okay, so we've got... Yeah, we're here. We're here. Hopefully you can hear us. Jason was saying that the internet was spotty.
If you can hear me, I don't know.
Crap. Spencer, should we be open sound both ways? Crap.
All right. Let's try something. Spencer, if we get him back, just tell him to go for it. Tell us how his week's been going. So he is actually, Adam, let's talk about where he mentioned he was. He was situated in the bus lot, and maybe you can explain the story of what he's told you so far while we try and link up with him about what he's had to go through in the NASCAR bubble this week at Daytona.
And I didn't realize they were so strict, but once you were in and you were tested, he said there's chain link fences all around, so you can't leave. You can't interact with the fans. You're in your safe space. He happened to be in an RV parked between Bubba Wallace and Martin Truex. So he said to me, had some really interesting conversations this week. You know, people with, I'm sure they've got tons of media obligations, but at the same time, you want to go out and smell some fresh air when there's only 50 or 60 other individuals there. So if you've followed social, Brad Keselowski has cardboard cutouts of his family. It is only the drivers in there. So he said it's been quite surreal. You bring in what food you're going to need, and that's it.
Yeah, it's got to be a little bit lonely too, and you want to celebrate with your family, especially at a place like Daytona. Even just being there in the race alone has got to feel a bit lonely to have to go through it yourself and just relay it all. But thankfully, they got social media and can get some semblance of at least interaction in one way or another.
So the sacrifices they are making um, are big. It's a big deal because even take a Jason White who comes down there who has to find sponsorship support, but he also has to dig into his own pocket to be down there, right? So let's say it's like going on a vacation you've spent a ton of money on. Well, okay, well, now you have to leave your wife and kids behind and leave your social life behind. He was saying he was enjoying some time out and about, but come Thursday, he has to be isolated once again. He's had 4 COVID tests since he's been down in Florida.
Wow. Spencer, you want to move on to the next story, and we'll see if we can clear this up with Jason in the meantime. Niagara race teams had a major fire there, Adam, last week, and kind of a shocking deal. Heartbreaking. It sounded like about 8 to 10 different race teams lost their cars. Spencer, throw up some of the pictures of the cars before they were burnt. These were some of the cars, everything from a sprint car to a dirt car sportsman, thunder stocks, street stocks. These are some images that were shared by the owners of showing off what they had lost when all the pictures came out. Just scroll through them. Noah Mammo lost his whole car, as I understand it as well. Todd Gordon and Doug Gordon, they run a Concept One fabrication. They didn't actually lose their modifieds, but they had 2 to 3 customer cars that were in the finishing stages that they're basically were bought and paid for that they're going to have to finish. Sad to see all these cars go at them, and it was an old chicken barn. And the way I understand it was like hundreds of feet long, and you got to pick how much width of shop you wanted. And it started in one of the offices and just raged through the place. As I understand, there weren't pumpers available, and there's a good overhead view. And, you know, these are some of the aftermath pictures. That's a sportsman or sprint car there. It looks like a down-tube sprint car. That's Alan Galetta's enclosed trailer all melted. Heartbreaking on him.
It really is, right? So these are places people keep their toys, Clinton, and most people don't even think about insurance for this type of item, right? It's just someplace you go, you sink a lot of money into it, and it's just terribly sad that this happened.
Yeah, and you know what? I think I obviously we can't speak for any of these, but from what I'm hearing, you know, most of these guys didn't have insurance on their secondary toy shop, as you had mentioned. You know, was it even a commercial building that was zoned for that type of thing, which means brings in other, you know, official issues on what could be paid for, what couldn't, and then, you know, is it going to come down to each team versus the landlord? And at that point, you know, can they get? It's a disaster. So a lot of GoFundMe accounts have sprung up around. So if you're interested, you can reach out to us. We can get you going on, you know, on the right path to help them out. Show off that shirt I sent you, Spencer. The folks at Merrittville have been put together an effort here with Tim Bredman at Auto Effects Graphics for a 70th anniversary at Merrittville Speedway shirt. Racers are family. We all stick together with all the proceeds being split up evenly among the teams that were affected. I also saw that Don Speece of Merrittville had a pizza drive this weekend. I think, Adam, they're going to be selling shirts and have pizza drive-through. So you drive through and you get a deal. You get a shirt and a pizza, which is awesome, and all the proceeds to go to the team. So the entire community has really reached out. Obviously, all of us here want to send our hearts out to everybody, and hopefully those teams can get back in and as we know, there's been a lot of help to get them back on track, and a lot of businesses have jumped in. We're excited to see that everybody's sticking together.
Yeah, and really cool what Greg Bellier did for those race teams, what Bicknell's have
Yes.
done for those race teams. Just an amazing. So Bicknell announced they were going to give each of the teams affected a $500 account credit at Bicknell Racing Products. Hugely generous, and just a really neat tribute. And then Greg Bellier, who's just a phenomenal human being. And am I getting this right? His wife's name is Sherry, isn't it?
Yes.
I think it's Greg and Sherry Bellier, and they
It is.
own XL Storage down there, XL
And
Tower
XL
Service,
Power.
XL Storage, and they went through a fire last year, and they recently put out a post, or they may have just sent the note to Bicknell. I saw it because I believe Erica posted it, Erica Bicknell, but they said, look, we have felt the devastation of a fire. We want to match Bicknell's contribution and put another $500 on each of these drivers' account with Bicknell Racing Products to help in a terrible time. And, you can't replace, there's some things you can't replace, Clinton, but you also can't replace the feeling you get from someone doing something so generous. You know what I mean? Like it's heartwarming. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be more of those, great gestures coming down. Once again, if you can't figure out who to reach out to help these teams and you're interested, let us know. But you're right, Greg and Sherry, they've always been very generous. They've been involved in the charity stuff, the 2-seater car at Brighton. And, as we talked about, they had their devastating fire, which we talked about here on the show, and they rebuilt. And great to see them reach out. Yeah, there's been so many great things. Our heart goes out to all those race teams, and hopefully they can get back on the track sooner than later. Craziness, Adam. So we've still been trying to work with Jason White. We dropped him a few times. Not sure whether it's on his end or our end, but either way,
it's our fault because
Spencer says he can do an audio.
This has happened to him when he's been in British Columbia. I believe it happened to him when he's been in Ontario, and now we're getting it again with him in Daytona. So, that sucks.
Yeah, especially when you wait around all the time to talk to us. We're also hoping to hear from Andy Jankowiak. We realize he's still work and running around. He said he was going to try and jump in. Scott Kruger should be joining us here in the next few minutes.
I think you mean Andy Jankowiak.
Yeah, he got in trouble for saying that on the weekend, didn't he?
No, that some of the broadcasters hadn't got the pronunciations just right.
And I saw a lot of comments with them referring to Andy J.
Which is, Andy J is fine, but it is one of the challenges, and I've screwed up names before also. But as I've said on this show, Clinton, I'm so much harder on people that are supposed to be professionals.
Hockey. Now, there's a sport that helps you with last names, buddy. I did some AHL stuff for a season or two, and it was pretty crazy to see some of the names that come across the paper there. So, what do you want to talk about now, man?
I'm easy. It's all you. We've got so many topics from Speed Week. So I had 3 TVs on the go last week. At my living room, I had 3 TVs lined up. I watched Volusia Speedway, New Smyrna Speedway to catch the asphalt, and then on the big screen, whatever was going on from Daytona for the most part, I'd have up on the big screen. So I had a blast watching the races. Again, some of it I paid for. So Dirt Vision, I bought a subscription. As much as I sit here and say, look, more people should be doing this for free, I also respect the fact that other people have a different business model. And I paid the money and paid for the service. And it was great. I enjoyed being able to see all the action.
So do you want to jump into Daytona? Lots of action happened in Speed Weeks down there. Or do you just want to clear off? Do you want to jump to the dirt stuff? We talk about the finish of the 500. Lots of stuff to cover. And
let's do the 500. Let's start with the 500. So to our viewers, if you have an opinion on the 500, please go ahead and give it, share it. We'll get it up. and in the meantime, Clinton and I can give you our thoughts.
Well, Christopher Bell, first off, his fault or not?
In my opinion, no. And, they even showed the telemetry that he was lifting and getting pushed from Kyle Busch. So I mean, to me, that seemed like uh, evidence that he was not at fault there, or at least not totally at fault. But I noticed when I was listening to Sirius Radio on Monday, they sort of posed the same thing. They never even brought up Kyle Busch being, ankles deep in Bell's back bumper, pushing him down the back straightaway. So I don't think it was his fault. But I do think people were were drafting too aggressively. On the other side, you have to try it, so at least you know for later.
Yeah, obviously major heartbreak for a lot of those teams and everybody with drivers in their pools that they picked all week and gone out the window so fast. And then, I'm with you there. I don't think there's much Bell can do in that instance. He's certainly not the malicious driver type to go out and try and put a move on someone like that early in the race. And, I'm sure he felt bad for it. As he mentioned in the tweet, he certainly wasn't out there looking to wreck anybody's day that early. And then we get into rain delays, Adam, which crazy, like crazy rain delays that went on way too long, a lot like last year.
Well, and this is where the internet is toxic. This is where think before you open your mouth or before you start running your thumbs. Oh, if we started at noon the way we used to, we'd already be done. Yeah, and if it rained at noon, people would be saying, "Oh, you might as well start it at 3. We're gonna have to wait that long anyhow." It is what it is. Yeah, it's been a few years of weather delays. Thankfully, they have lights at the speedway. They got the show in. I stayed up past my bedtime to watch the finish, but I was entertained.
I, for one, am happy. I mean, I'm a short track guy. I love them under the lights. It can be very exciting. Michael McDowell goes on to win. A lot of controversy there. When does the caution come out? Was it Elliott? Was it McDowell? They gave it to McDowell. Your thoughts on the finish?
I thought Fox did a phenomenal job the way they covered that. Waiting for NASCAR to make the call. Then they interview Chase Elliott. And when Chase Elliott even confirms, yeah, Michael McDowell won, right? Like it takes so much of the angst out of it when your main competition says, yeah, they were the winner. I saw the yellow come out and I was not ahead. But I'd love to break down that wreck. In fact, I'd love to break down the last 5 laps because I hate agreeing with Denny Hamlin because I usually just don't. But I think he hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I thought it was an entertaining day, a marathon day, but that's what you got to be used to if you get to the Daytona 500. Anything else you want to add to that before I bring on your biggest rival, Adam?
My biggest rival? Who's my biggest rival?
Yeah, you don't know?
Well, listen, are we going to talk? I want to talk about the last 5 laps. Is someone smarter? How many Fords were in that draft? So if there was only 16, 17 cars left in that draft, how many of them were Fords?
I didn't know there was going to be a test.
Well, here's my concern. Denny Hamlin said it. Why did nobody move? Why did nobody pull out a line? Austin Dillon, Chevrolets, Toyotas. You've got to do something. You can't pull out and pass him. So what were they all doing for those last 5 laps? You knew Keselowski was going to wait until the last second to make a move. Michael McDowell had pretty much shown that he was going to stay there committed to be a good Ford driver, and he was. So when Kevin Harvick pulls down to make a move, so as that race strings along, I think Joey Logano made a big mistake. I think Kevin Harvick did what he needed to do. I think Brad Keselowski did what he needed to do beautifully. I think McDowell did what he needed to do beautifully. So if we're going down laying blame through the order, I think Keselowski and McDowell, bully for them. They did what they needed to do. Joey Logano, he seems to be okay. And I'm becoming more of a fan of Joey Logano as time goes on, because he was the only person who congratulated Michael McDowell live in an interview on Fox. He was the only one that said, "Congratulations, Michael McDowell." None of the other people did. That bothers me. But I think they did right. Keselowski, McDowell, Harvick did right. Everybody else in that lead draft made critical mistakes towards the end of that 500, and it ticks me off.
I'll give you the same thing. I've just sent a message to Andy Jankowiak to get him on the show here. I felt the same thing in the ARCA race, and the announcers were pulling their hair out in the ARCA race. They're like, "Come on, guys, you got to take a shot here because you got 10 laps to go. If it doesn't work, you're going to get a chance to regroup. Why are you waiting to only get one shot on net when you could possibly take 3?" And I felt the same thing Sunday night when that rolled around as well. So
I can deal with it with ARCA because they're all kind of learning, bring the car home in one piece. You're at the elite level, and what the hell's Austin Dillon waiting for? Joey Logano should not have blocked Keselowski. Do you know how Denny Hamlin won the 500 last year? Do you remember? Coming to the
I
finish,
don't.
there was Ryan Newman. He let himself get past in the last corner. Going into 3, I think it was, he got past. Like, he's thinking his way through that, and he's still got enough momentum using the draft, using the air, using his help. Joey Logano, that's a no-win deal that he made there. That move was ill-advised. That wrecked the field. Brad Keselowski, he did what he had to do and what you would expect him to do. But what the hell are the Toyotas and the Chevrolets doing, keeping in line with a bunch of Fords? I just
It
can't.
comes down to selfishness, right? And then you end up with that. We all know it's coming all night. Is that what we wait 9 hours to see?
Pretty much. And what sport don't you? Basketball's the same way. Without the fire, basketball's the same way. But if I'm Austin Dillon, I hate to pick on him, but he was there and he was ahead. Is he content to run 4th? Like, what? Why? Come on, move, do something, and finish 15th. It doesn't matter anymore, because you're either going to win at some point. Almost everyone who's going to get in the playoffs wants to win their way into the playoffs. So if you're going to finish 4th in the Daytona 500, do something. Doing nothing is not making a choice that, to me, is acceptable out of the elite caliber racers that make up the NASCAR Cup Series.
I agree. You got to make a move, but you don't want to also be the one who gets hung out. It's like a high-speed game of chicken, right? And you're playing against time, trying to figure out if I go, will they go with me? Do they have? Do I have
to the pit area like this? I'd be back to the pit area just like this. I'm the one that got out of line, you bunch of chicken shits. Good for you. You can pick up your balls in the infield medical center, put them back on. You should have been wearing them for the race. And I shouldn't say that because you don't need balls to win. But I did see a great quote in the documentary, which is really cool. I can just say this. I've enjoyed some of the stuff that I've watched. Am I allowed to admit that I've seen some clips, Clinton?
Yeah. Oh,
because you'll have to search for it. But Alex Hill's use of the term "lady balls," like, mad respect.
Yeah. We'll talk about that on next week's show. He's talking about a reference that's made in the Shweekend documentary program that's coming out. It's going to be awesome. Let's jump into our next guest. It's a good segue into our Shweekend Speedway. He's the reigning and defending Canadian Sprint Car Nationals champion, Scott Kruder, and he's got his wife, Allison, with him here also tonight. And that's who I was going to say was your biggest rival, Adam, because that night a couple of summers ago when Dylan Westbrook and Kruder got together, and Scott probably didn't even have his lady balls back in line before Allison was already up our butt about what a terrible call it was, and it carried on. I think she might have even been a guest on the show. And I could see her talking to Scott that way, maybe like, "Hey, man, don't be a chicken shit. Get out there and do it." And I hope I'm not out of line, but let's bring them on now.
I'm going to
ask. Of course we are. Scott, we really want to talk to Allison, so you can step aside there for a minute.
Yeah, we're glad you're here, Scott. But Allison, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Did you watch the 500?
I did.
Okay, so if you were married to Chase Elliott or to Austin Dillon, would you have anything to say to them when they came back to your bus that night? Like, would you, oh, you did a great job, or would you perhaps say, do you want some help finding your nuts?
Absolutely. I would have given them such a hard time.
Okay, and I believe you. Like, you don't even have to give an example of what you would say because I have seen it.
You don't want to know what I would say.
She's a firm believer. If you're not first, you're last. So if we don't win, we're last.
I love it. Like the killer instinct. And I was frustrated a couple of years ago when you were very hard on us. But I think I said to you a few times after how much I appreciated it, because there's nothing worse than someone not telling you what's on their mind.
Yeah, that's not my style whatsoever. So I think most people know who I am and how I am, and it is what it is. I'm not going to be nasty per se, but you're definitely going to know how I feel.
All right, we got to get you centered a bit there, Scott. You tried to fix it up, and we'll go back to stay on them, Spencer. It's all right. So, Scott, let's talk about your new venture, guys. Scott, if we understand correctly, you used to work the pole position cartway. Tell us where it is. Is it the same location? And how did you get into this new venture that opens up, I think, Thursday for you guys, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, so it all started back when I was a kid. My dad used to own a indoor go-kart track. They were gas sprint cars, basically, and it was inside, and the track was slippery, so it was as close to racing a on dirt sprint car style as you could get. I grew up in that, and then I worked for pole position for 7 years in the Galleria Mall, and then they changed names, and then they actually left the mall where I was working. So then I started a construction company, and I've been doing that for the last couple of years. I've been doing really well. And then I've seen the opportunity. They're no longer in the Place Mall in Rochester, and there was an opportunity for me to take it over from the mall. And we're opening it up as IndyCart Raceway. It's at the Marketplace Mall in Rochester. Really super excited to be able to actually implement things that I've always wanted to do as far as actually being able to own it, operate it, promote it, be involved in the racing community. Super excited.
How and that is exciting. Talk to us about what the climate is like in Western New York, because up here we're still in full lockdown. We're just about to come out of that, but do you expect big crowds? Do you expect people to come out in droves? What are your hopes?
So the facility can hold about 400 people. It's a very large facility. So we can properly social distance. You're in a cart by yourself. We have full-faced head socks for sanitation because we do provide helmets. But when somebody comes in and they purchase a race, they're really not in contact with anyone. So that's why we're allowed to open, because we have 4 lanes of carts. When one lane goes out and races and they come in, we can clean and sanitize those carts. And there's 3 other lanes that we can use before we have to get back to that first lane. So it's actually pretty easy for us to be able to keep things sanitized, clean, and safe. People are really looking to get out and do things, and they're slowly lifting. Like, we don't have any zones anymore. I wouldn't say we're not anywhere near normal, but they're allowing things to start to open back up. And I think we're going to be pretty busy because people have been wanting to get out, and we can safely bring them in and let them have a good time, get their need for speed.
Scott, how does this deal with all the other stuff you've got going on? You know, you've got your racing going on, you've got your renovation construction company. Now you've got this. You got a young family. How do you manage all this and keep it straight?
Well, Allison helps me out a lot. She handles everything that I'm not good at, she is good at. So she handles the bills, the finances, all that type of stuff. So, and then I brought on, I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with Scott Hickson. He's the head flagger at Land of Legends. I had gotten him, put him in position to run this facility about 5-6 years ago when it was the other company. And I've actually brought him on as the general manager. So it's really exciting having somebody, because I live about an hour away from the facility. So he's only about 15-20 minutes from there. So it makes it's taken a lot of pressure off of us, because he knows the business in and out. So he's helping tremendously as far as helping me balance that. But as far as the construction goes, I haven't taken on any new jobs. I've finished up all the projects that I have for the most part. I just have a few loose ends to wrap up. So I'm really just going to focus on this, because Dawson, my son, I don't want to miss time with him. He's amazing. I absolutely love him. And I don't want to miss out on opportunities to, see him grow up, be there to put him to bed, wake him up, stuff like that. So it is a fine line of balancing family with all the things that we have going on. It has sucked that there's been no racing, but it's been able to allow me to kind of focus on life and get business going. I'm really excited to get back in the driver's seat, and hopefully things open up here this summer and we can get back behind the wheel of a sprint car.
What happens to your racing plan, Scott, if the U.S.-Canadian border doesn't reopen? I know there's always been options on places you can go to run a 360. We would much rather have you at Ohsweken Speedway, but if things do carry on the way they are and you can't cross the border, what do you hope to race?
Well, that'll be something we'll have to sit down and talk with Trey about. He's pretty open to, he really wants to race. So we got to sit down and talk about, where we're going to go, what we're going to do. Honestly, we'll probably just bounce around. I know him and Matt did a lot more 410 racing this last year. I just didn't have the time to be able to go over to the shop and put the time in on the cars. And it's not fair, it's not fair to the team to go race and then not be at the shop to maintain the car and everything. So I kind of took a little bit of not a step back, but I focused on business this year, but we have, Trey has a decent amount of 410 stuff. So I think between the 360 and 410s, I'm sure we'll be able to find some places to race, when stuff opens up, if we can't go up to Ohsweken.
Scott, what's the pertinent information that our viewers need to know about the Cartway? Proper name, website info, where's location, how can they get a hold of you guys to book a fun day at the track?
Definitely. So it is all Arrive and Drive Racing. You can come in. We're open 7 days a week. IndyCartRaceway.com is our website. IndyCart Raceway is our Facebook page. And the website, it'll be done probably by the end of the week. There is a splash page there, so you can still go on and get some info. But the full website will be done by the end of the week. It should be done. So really right now, social media is what we're really pushing. The phone number to the track is area code 585-978-8950. We're at 17 Miracle Mile Drive, which is in the Marketplace Mall in Rochester, New York. So it's not a horrible drive when the border opens back up. I really hope. I've already gotten some messages from different people on the other side of the border there that can't wait to come check it out and give us a try. Because the carts, the track's about a quarter mile long. The carts go up to 45 miles an hour. And because you're so low to the ground, it feels like you're really cranking. So there's transponders on all the carts. So when you get done, you can check your lap times. When you register, it gives you a link so you can go on, check your times. You can there's like a pro skill. So the more you come in, you can check and see how you're ranking against other customers. And like I said, I really want to be involved in the local racing community. We already started hanging up some body panels of different modified teams. And we got to get some sprint car wings hung up in there. I was joking with Hickson and said, I can't have all mud bus stuff hanging in here. We got to get some sprint car wings. And he asked where they all were. And I said, well, usually when you junk a wing, you leave a pile in the middle of the pits because your stuff is junk. It's not like wrecking. You can't really just wreck a panel on a sprint car.
if you watched any of the asphalt modified stuff from New Smyrna, there's plenty of panels you can pick up. If people put them back in their trailers to bring them back to New York, I'm sure there's lots of panels that you could pick up from them, because that was Carnage City.
Yeah, it seemed like I tried to pay attention and watch, and it seemed like it was a pretty rough weekend down there.
Entertaining as hell, though. Scott, Allison, thanks so much for joining us, and we wish you nothing but the best in that venture. I want you back on Friday nights at Ushweekend, so I'm really looking forward to when that happens. But thanks so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you guys for having us. And it's not necessarily the way I want to be the reigning Canadian Sprint Car Nationals champion. I want to get back there and try to defend that actually on the track. And I know we've had the title for 2 years, but we want to get another one of them under our belt.
Well, you've been the longest to hold the belt anyway, so far, Scott. Not the way you wanted to do. Thanks so much for joining us. As Adam said, we wish you the best, and as soon as we can get across, we'll definitely be bringing the Ushweekend G-Force crew down for some fun, because we all love the kart. So, thank you. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Right, Adam? How many times we must have been indoor kart? Let's tell our quick indoor karting story. If we've got Andy Jankowiak on the line, we'll bring him on, Spencer. But our quick story was I got invited out to go karting at Hamilton Indoor Kartway, very similar to what Scott has. And my wife, Christine, says, we had one spot left. And she said, you should call Adam. And I said, he won't come that far. It's about an hour and a bit from your house. And I said, it's late at night. He'll be in bed. And I only got one spot, so both him and Connor can't race. And we walk in there, and my son, Jackie, goes, Dad, that's a DTD sweater down there. We're looking down the track, and nah. Sure enough, who walks out? Both you guys. It's just weird. I hadn't been there in a few years. You probably hadn't been there in a couple. We both end up at the same place on the same night in a town that's an hour from my house and an hour from your house.
Yeah,
on a
so bizarre.
Friday night at midnight. Just weird. But great minds think alike. Anyway.
It's our cosmic connection, that's for sure. Spencer, do we have Andy J? We do.
There is.
Andy, congratulations, man.
I got no sound if you guys are talking.
Crap.
We can hear you. Can you hear us now? We're close.
So we can hear Andy. Andy
These
cannot hear us.
Problems that have gone on all along.
And I think I hear the sweat bouncing off of Spencer's floor.
I'm sending him a text right now.
So Andy Jankowiak, while Clinton communicates with him by text, for those who don't know, life savings, buys an ARCA car, goes down to Daytona, was second fastest in practice, finished in the top 10, had a phenomenal run, and really became very much a sensation. They did some great features on Andy and his lineage in racing and some of the tragedy that his family has endured, and really did a nice job in setting the stage for people to embrace what he was doing.
Yeah, agreed. And if you don't know the history, he lost his father and his uncle both in racing wrecks. One at Stafford, one at Lancaster. But just a good old-fashioned hard racer story. I'm just telling him, we can hear you. Just go for it. So,
and even we can. Decker's going to have to take his place, come on and do some chat.
Give me a nod if I'm on. I can't hear you guys.
We got you. Go.
All right. All right. We're doing this like through text here. My day was incredible. We got there right away, and the car was just immediately faster. Just first practice, we went out. I looked down at the pack, and I knew we were going to be better. And we went out, and with the first pack, I think we were going to have a really good lap, that first lap of practice. And the caution actually came out. TJ Majors got me in a Venturini pack, and I just knew it was going to be good. And the caution ended up coming out, and they brought us pit road. I'm like, oh, crap, I'm never going to get a lap now. And they put us with a different pack, and went out there running. And I knew the car felt pretty good. I knew we were running with some pretty good cars, and it was sucking up really good. And TJ comes over the radio. He's like, I might as well bring it in now. We're top of the board. And I'm like, what board? What are you talking about? and looked up, and the 73 was on top of the tree. It was just absolutely incredible. Just couldn't believe it. And we were the fastest in practice. The Venturini and the Gibbs cars kept coming in, putting tape on, because if qualifying was to rain out, they were going to line the cars up by practice speed. So everyone was really trying to get a lap down. And, obviously we were on top of the board. So they kept coming in, putting tape on, and letting the cars run hot, trying to put a lap down. And the Gibbs car got us right at the end. So we ended up second. So I knew we were going to be good. And we went to qualifications for the race, which is group. And we didn't really have a strong group. We could only put 3 cars together. And TJ Majors made a deal where I was actually, they redraw for your position in the group, and I was the leader of the group. But because there's a guy 2 cars behind me had a Toyota, they thought he would lead better. So we let him jump us, and we got in line. And I was the fastest car in that group, but we were only 11th. And it's hard to pick them off. But, we hung around there, and then it was a wreck about halfway through the race. And I'm kicking myself, really. Because I said if I ever squirreled my way through a wreck that I was going to yell, I got through it, Harry, like Days of Thunder. And we squirreled our way through this wreck and ended up getting through it and we were able to keep going. But what happened is when the car dipped down on the banking, because I had to go on the flat to try to miss the wreck, and then I go through the grass, it pushed the left side of the valence up on the nose, and it was allowing air to get in, and actually it wore down the left side valence below the door, which the cars actually, they skew to the left going down the straightaway. So because we didn't have the left side valence on the door, what that does is allows air to pack up underneath the car, which you just caught in the back bumper cover, which slows you down. So as the race went on, we were never quite as good. It wasn't as bad if I was in a pack. But when I had gotten a 6th, we weren't that far behind the front pack, and I was going to lead the second pack because the car in front of me, he jumped out of the gas when we were to go past him, and we got a little gap there. So I was the leader of the second pack, and because I had the damage, I was the first car hitting the air, and I wasn't strong enough to lead us back to that front pack. So we kind of hung around in 6th there, and it was probably where we were going to end up, which actually I didn't really hate, because I was thinking, man, I'm far enough back where if they crash on the last lap, I could probably not run into them if I did a good job. So I wasn't thinking we were going to be in a bad spot. And then the caution come out, and they lined us up double file for a 1-lap shootout. And I'd be like, man, I just want to go to Talladega. You know what I mean? I was just hoping that thing was going to come back around one more time. And we got going, and my line didn't really get going. The guy on the outside pole dropped in, and the guy was in front of me because we were on the outside. We just couldn't get it going, and the bottom line pulled a good side draft off of us, and we were pulling a side draft back on him, coming to the line, but ended up losing a couple spots there right at the end, so ended up 8th. So it was going to be 6th, and ended up being 8th, so it's a top 10's a top 10. I'd have been bummed out if we lost a 5th or something, but 6th to 8th, that's kind of the same to me. So cars in one piece for the most part. It does have a significant amount of body damage. Just go on and off the track like that. We dinged her up pretty good. So the car is going to have to go over to see a professional to get everything hung back on it correctly and get the nose straightened out. Not huge money, but it's enough that we actually had to pull the engine out and pull the fuel cell out, so they can actually get in there and look at it. And we'll have to see what they say.
Oh, that's awesome.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us yet, Andy?
Yeah, actually, now you're coming through a little bit. I'm also reading my text here a little bit too. So.
Oh, perfect. I want.
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of coming through in pieces. I wasn't real disappointed with the last restart. Actually, I kind of answered that question without even reading the text here. I'm kind of answering text.
Yeah.
Answering questions through the text here. Like I said, it would have been cool if we got going and I was able to advance. To me, it's like you want to win, you got a podium, you got a top 5, you got a top 10. So 6th to 8th, it's kind of, that's a top 10 to me. So bringing the car home in one piece. I guess probably the part that really bums me out is if we didn't have the valence damage, I think we had a strong enough car that I could have led that second pack up to the first pack because we weren't that far behind them. When I did get the 6th. So that's probably the bummer of the whole deal. I was kind of talking to someone about this the other day, and if you gave me like 100 chances to do this over again, probably 98 of them would have been worse. It was almost a perfect day, but it was like that 1 in 100. If I would have had a clean front end leading that pack, I think we had a good enough car, and we proved it in practice to go up there and run with those guys. So that would have been cool to pull the 73 up there in the frame there going towards the end at Daytona. So I really shouldn't complain. It went pretty well. It really did, just start to finish. And we brought the car home in one piece, and we got something we're going to be able to go to Talladega with. Talladega is the next one on our agenda here. We're searching for a couple marketing partners to be able to go do that, but I'm confident that we're going to be able to go do that. It's not because it's so similar to Daytona, money-wise, it's not that crazy to go get there as far as what we got to do, and a lot of the stuff that we did at Daytona is just going to translate right over to there. So it's not a heavy workload. It's not huge financially to try to go do that. So I'm very confident, especially with all the buzz we generated with our story and the nice piece that Fox did on me, that we're going to be able to go do a little bit more. Sky's the limit. We're going to wait and see what partnerships kind of pop up and see what we can do with all this. And if we're able to find some partners that want to go a little bit further, then we're willing to do that. It wouldn't be too much of a stretch ticket to like a Michigan or a Charlotte, but to do that, I would need some help to go do that. But we're open to any conversations that happen here in the near future, and we're excited to see what kind of comes from here.
Hopefully Clint is texting this to you. I don't know if you can hear very well, Andy, but
the social media, the social media stuff's just been overwhelming. I've been sitting on my phone and my tablet for 2 days trying to answer as many as I could. It's just I can't even describe it. It's just endless. It's humbling. I can't believe it. We got back to Andy Seiss's shop after the race, and we kind of got settled in. We flipped the TV on, and we're all kind of hanging out as me, my crew guy, and my stepkids. And I look up on the Charlotte Evening News, and I see my Honda on the TV. They're running the Fox story, and they were talking about the story of the guy that spent his life savings to go race Daytona. Like, that's something crazy. It was well worth it. But it's been wild. I knew we get a little bit of a buzz from it. I knew, a lot of people follow me, and, they like our story, and it's just been unbelievable. But, I think we really made an impression, and, obviously the car was highly competitive, and I got to thank my buddy Andy Seiss for getting me that far, and my crew chief Mike Dayton, and my help from Kenny Schrader's shop, Mr. Donnie Richardson, just for getting me pointed in the right direction. And it's just awesome. It was a very, very cool experience. But I want to thank you guys for having me. I'm sorry we can get the sound to work. Maybe we can do this again sometime.
We caught it all in. Thanks so much.
Yeah, that was the best non-interview and the most awkward finish ever. But great visit with Andy Jankowiak. And how can you not be thrilled for him, Clinton? And just it was a storybook. See, how often is the 8th place finisher in the ARCA portion of Speed Week going to be in our top 3 stories? And I don't, our top 3, like, I'm not saying he was a top 3 story, but for our region, for New York State, for the Northeast, it was just it was probably, outside of Michael McDowell, it was the most heartwarming story of Speed Week.
And he just sent me a text, said, "Oh man, I'm so bummed out. I was looking forward to this interview all day. Not sure what happened." I said, "We caught it all. You were great." So thanks, Andy.
Tell him he was perfect.
Yeah, it was good. No, I agree, Adam. And you know what? The one thing that I think that when you see someone like that, that's close to home, that we've actually been in the same pit area as, or I think I get the same feeling when you see Stuart Friesen make it to the top, or Jason White, or an Alex LeBay, or all these guys that we have had interactions with. And I know you and I have been at this for 25 years, and, we work for NASCAR and TSN, so we're closer to the action a lot. But even the regular fan here in Canada is not that far away from the superstars. And that also means kids are still able to dream. If you've got talent and you've got a desire and you're, personable, you can go all the way from the tracks we race at weekly that this show centers on. And I think that's the biggest point of it, is anybody can make it. So, and I don't know how many times now that we've been in this 25 years, there's at least a couple guys over the years that I thought he's wasting his time. And here he is grinding it out. And now they're at the top of the game, making it work. And it's just good to see it. If there's ever a sport that shows you don't give up, it's this sport, because your body tends not to wear out, and you can try a lot longer than you could if you try to be a professional football or hockey player per se. So yeah, I think there's so many great stories and ones that are close to us, which is always great to talk about.
Absolutely. So now we're going to have to whip through a bunch of topics and maybe put some off. I think we should put off. I think we should put off our
buzz through a couple quick ones. Bob Jenkins has brain cancer. Classy announcer. All the best. I think he's a voice we all grew up on. We wanted to make a quick mention of that. Go.
Yeah. The voice of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, of Thursday Night Thunder back in the 80s, Clinton. Like, he, to me, was a trailblazer, right? Like, that's who I saw. Once I realized my racing career wasn't going to take me to the sky, Bob Jenkins was something that I could really get behind and say, I want to be that guy.
Go back and watch some of the old Indy broadcasts. They're all on YouTube. Amazing stuff. And, he calls a lot of stuff. Even when I think of Bob Jenkins, I think of like the old ESPN NASCAR broadcasts, back before I even knew who Eli Gold was, I think so. We've gotten through most of our topics. The only ones I see that we still have to go over are basically the Johnny Gibson tweet regarding Bristol, and then the Herb McCready Twitter feud, which ties into the Super Mad Max shot to the mouth that went on there last week.
I'd rather save all that stuff for next week, but talk about Johnny Gibson tweet and that World of Outlaws topic. I'd sooner close out the show, because I think we can spend enough time talking about that, Clinton. Like, I don't want to rush through a good.
We could talk about old school racing being taken care of in the pits.
Well, this is similar. I just think that's a topic that deserves a lot of conversation, because when T-Mac said, maybe this is what we need to do to bring back old school racing, everyone's yeah. And then when Matt Shepard goes and pops Max McLaughlin, there's people on the internet saying he should be banned for a year, banned forever. Can't have it both ways, folks. And it's a perfect example of how you cannot create a rule for one situation. You have to create rules that are fair, that are in the best interest of everybody.
So should Matt have been sent home and not allowed to race on Friday night?
My opinion, no.
Well,
I'd like to get to the. I'd like to get.
What do you need to get to the bottom of? We all watched the video. He walked right over and set him on his ass. I want to know why.
I'd be curious to know why Vic Coffey didn't put Matt Shepard back on his ass.
He couldn't have been close to the situation. And you know what? I'll tell you what. We're having a beer over T-Max Friday night, and if you watch, man, Shepard gave Kyle Coffey as a lap car a ton of room and was way more polite with him than he would have ever been if he didn't get in a fight with that same crew the next night. And I kept saying to my wife, I said, listen, you don't want to pass that car, because any type of touch, it's going to give Vic a reason to come back. And we've seen Vic lose his cool at Dirt Week in the past. So, I mean,
The reason I want to put this off is because I also want to focus on the Ryan Preece, John McKennedy feud at New Smyrna Speedway, which I used as a real teachable moment with Connor. And let's bring this up next week. But if you're not willing to finish a fight, don't start it. So if you're going to go up and hit someone on the racetrack, and if they hit you back, you're going to put your tail between your legs and run away, don't hit them in the first place. Do you know the situation I'm talking about?
Are you talking about the race between them on Thursday or something different?
Priest turned McKennedy.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'd
Okay,
have to
yes.
look back. I'd have to watch it all again. And McKennedy beaked off in an interview, and then I forget how it went down. But either way, when Priest got to him in the race, he hit him, and then he hit him again, and then he drove him in. And this is all in a matter of 5 seconds. Drove him into turn 3 about 5 car lengths too deep up the track, and he hit him again and drove by. And I said to Connor, I said, okay, if you're John McKennedy, you shouldn't have hit him in the first place, because the next restart they lined up side by side. I said, Connor, if you're John McKennedy and you don't go into the corner and hit Ryan Priest as hard as you possibly can, he has just marked you as his territory. I didn't exactly use those terms to him. But if you're going to start something and you're going to let the other driver finish it, you have set the stage for the rest of your racing career with them, that they'll be able to walk all over you. So either don't start it or finish it together. And it doesn't make a lot of sense when we've only got like 3 minutes to talk about it.
Well, these are both topics we definitely want to discuss going forward. We want everybody to spend the week doing some research and figure out what you think about the Bristol deal. Who should be allowed? There's a lot of topics about this week about it should be invitation only, and only the best should be allowed to race at Bristol, because it is no joke, and we'll discuss that next week. I mean, there's a couple things I go back to. It starts with what you allow as officials on the track. So I have had a beef with NASCAR Pinty Series for many years, Adam, that they will typically allow someone to be spun out. You can dump the leader coming out of 4 and still be the winner, which is bullshit in my deal. Because I said, I grew up where we scrapped in the city, and if that's the way you guys want to play, I'll be a 12th place racer, but I'll win every race, and we'll fight ourselves to the payout window and back to the highway, and we'll make a mockery of your show. So you can't let that go. So one thing the officials have to have, you need some type of rules for altercation. I think, they're going to take a lot of heat for not sitting Shepard down when he clearly walked on video into Max's pit. Now, here's the other thing on that. If you've seen Max's attitude, I think Sunday night he came out holding up the gator, and he said, well, one busted lip, one black eye, but I got the gator. So if I've seen it in the past where 2 guys get in an altercation, but they agree to get in a room the next day and say, hey, I deserve that. He gave it to me. We're okay. I don't want him to be suspended. Let's just go race because that's what I needed. As a sanctioning body, can you let that go? It's so tough, but that in my position as manager, I'm like, well, they're cool with it. I mean, why do I got to perpetuate? But then you also have it's such a slippery slope, man. But
if I'm Max McLaughlin, do I make that same move again? Like, wouldn't it be beautiful if he made the same move again and punted Matt Shepard to the win and said, look, you knocked me on your ass. I cashed a $4,000 check, and I'm going to do it again next time too, right? There's 2 sides to every, and here's another teachable moment, Clinton. And I believe in this to the point, like I've done it to the point where my kids saying, Dad, walk away. But there's certain things when they call upon your principle, even if you're about to get your ass handed to you, and not, you still got to stand up for yourself sometimes. So even as the loser of that,
it's like I said, I never consider myself to be a big tough guy, but I've never been afraid to take a punch in the mouth for the right cause. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to stand up for what you want. And the same token, as a teaching moment, when my brother Mike started racing, we talked about, these type of incidents where you're going to define your career early. You're either going to be one of those guys who uses the bumper and doesn't cry and bitch and complain when someone uses their bumper on you, because that's the style you give and take, or you're going to be a guy who bitches every time someone touches you, but you better be the cleanest damn driver out there and never touch anybody else. And if you do, you better be over there apologizing and letting them know, hey, I wasn't that type of guy. And I think, Adam, you and I are in our realm of friends. We know lots of drivers who are both. And, even Freddie Carlton chimed in, and it made me laugh because Pitsy messaged me, what do we think? What's our take on the old school racing? And I said, it's coming up. But, Freddie Carlton commented, I've taken him through a few throat punches. I've thrown a few throat punches and taken a few too. So you make mistakes. Sometimes you get punched. Sometimes you're the one throwing the punch. And obviously we don't advocate discipline, or violence. But is this anything different than hockey, really? In the grand scheme of things, hockey, you're allowed to slash a guy dirty. You're going to get a punch, and you kind of know it's coming. You know,
So
I think where
at the end of the
when
day,
this was all men versus men, it was different. But now you got 14-year-olds in the mix with 50-year-old men, and that muddies the water for what should be
yeah,
cut and dry allowed, I think.
which person was able to lay their head down that night and sleep better? Yeah, Matt Shepard got he said his piece. He threw a punch. Max went down. Matt walked away. In that sense, I respect the fact that he did that. He didn't bring 10 crew members to pile on. He did his thing. But at the same time, you also have to realize Max McLaughlin did his thing too. You know, I'll never know. You'll never know if one punch knocked him down. He went down after one punch, but maybe that's all he needed to do. Look, I'm going to cash that check. He's going to punch me in the mouth. I'll get up and I'll pose with a gator the next day. So even in the losing end, maybe he's at peace with it. We got to go.
From what I told social, Max seemed like he was at peace with it. He was like, "Hey, I'm okay. I'm taking the check." And hey, maybe he realized I made a move and I needed a pop and I got it, and let's move on like men. So anyways, yeah, let's wrap up the show. Let us know what you think. Who should be racing at Bristol by invitation only next week. I want to thank all our guests. We attempted to get on, the ones who made it on. Don't forget we have Winter Meltdown coming up next. Where are we racing tonight, Adam?
We are at the Legends Oval at Charlotte. It's a special format race for the midway point of the season, and we expect all sorts of drama.
No points, show up only night. Check it out. It's coming up on G-Force right now. Thanks, Spencer. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. We'll talk to you again next week.